Okay, hey everybody. Sorry if you can hear Shelby. She's been in a cranky mood all day. So I've been toying with the idea about making this video for a while now, and I've just recently kind of gotten comfortable with the idea of it too. And it's kind of hard for me a little bit to talk about, but at the same time, I don't want this to happen to anybody else. And this is basically going to be a video talking about the importance of making sure your testosterone levels are right, because it can lead to something as detrimental as losing a relationship with somebody, whether it be platonic or romantic. So to start with, the entire premise of this video, like I said, is making sure that your T doses are correct. According to Healthline.com, the average is between 270 and 1070 nanograms per milliliter, I believe. Keep that in mind as a reference. But basically where I start with this is last summer when I had hit my 1 year on testosterone and I was getting my blood work checked. It was like, whoa, your levels are really high, so just cut your dose back. I guess it was like insanely high considering she cut it back from 1 full cc to 0.5 cc. And for the most part, when she changed it, I felt fine. That's the thing. I felt fine. I was going back to school. I was excited to see Kim again. I was ready for the new semester. And I was like, yeah, I'm so excited for November because I'm going to do No Shave November. I'm going to be awesome and bearded and all this fun shit. And then, as the fall semester progressed, though, I was still doing the 0.5 cc. And, I felt motivated to do things. I was trying to start Sigma Phi Beta on campus. But, I wasn't, physically active as much as I thought I was going to be. There was a lot of just, I want to sit around and do nothing. I was just basically becoming a little sluggish. But on top of that, I was having my emotions, start fluctuating. Where, I'd wake up and I'd feel great, but then by noon I was some reason sad and depressed, and I was starting to fluctuate like that. I'm at 8 a.m. class. I'm up at 7 o'clock or so. So I was having a hard time. I was struggling with that, and eventually it came to the point where Kim was starting to have issues with it. I had my emotional issues, and it got to the point where she was, I guess we did break up technically at one point, and I thought we weren't, I don't know. But we ended up getting back together, and I was starting to see a therapist for it, because I thought, it was just strictly an emotional thing. I was like, okay, I'll do this, whatever it takes to make Kim happy, whatever, And eventually, though, I stopped going because it wasn't, mentally, it just wasn't adding up for me. And it ended up totaling up on Kim, and some of the stuff I was doing was very borderline emotional abuse. But the way I saw it was, I wasn't ever intentionally doing anything, but the way she saw it was a different story. And eventually, she ended up breaking up with me because of this belief that I was emotionally abusing her. But I really wasn't intending to. If I was, but even if, I've even asked the therapist I was seeing at school. It wasn't like I was intending to do anything. So, and it wasn't a lot of the stuff on the list that I guess you could say of key signs of emotional abuse were not showing up. But I guess she was manipulating things in her head, just like I was manipulating things in my head, to see them as what we wanted to see it. So yeah, and so after I got dumped, I definitely wanted to see if something was up with like my testosterone levels, because honestly that was like the only thing right after the breakup that was making sense as to why I was having so many emotional issues. So when the breakup happened, I had like 2-3 weeks between that and going home for a Thanksgiving break. So I was like, okay, sweet, I'll just make it while I'm there, So I got my appointment, I saw her, and she didn't do any blood work. But I'm sure if she had, it would have like red flagged, hey, your doses are too low now. But she ended up telling me to play with the doses myself and just figure out a dose that makes me feel okay, and things like that. And as long as it wasn't gonna put me back, putting my testosterone levels up too high. So I started by alternating between 0.7 cc and 0.8 cc. I was just like trying to make sure I'd even out on a bottle, basically, was my concern. And eventually I was just like, what, screw this. And I ended up actually getting a wrong testosterone level. I got 100 instead of 200, so I was doubling my dose for a while. So basically, though, I ended up on 0.8 cc. Just because it worked out more so for me, what I felt more comfortable with. And shortly after surgery, because after surgery, it's not everybody who happens to get it, but there is some post-surgery depression that can occur. And basically between my body physically trying to recover from surgery and my emotional trying to recover from the breakup, because that was only like a month and a half apart, not even. Between those two things happening, and I was emotionally recovering though, and I was physically recovering, and my emotions, I'm just trying to get them back to normal. But shortly after that, though, my emotions kind of got back to an equilibrium where everything was settling out to where it should be. And then it occurred to me, like, after the breakup, I sat there wondering, was it really smart to even get surgery while I was so emotionally unstable? Because after the breakup, I was nothing but devastated. Like, literally the first 2 days after the breakup, I had never talked to my mom that many times in, like, even in the first 2 months of the school year. Like, I'd call her maybe twice a week, maybe once sometimes, I don't know. But it got to the point where I was on the phone with her, like, between every class and the morning and the evening. It was definitely difficult. It wasn't probably smart either. But, overall, it was very interesting to see how my emotions got affected by the testosterone dose change. And, I've been on 0.8 cc, though, since, like, let's say February is when I finally figured out to start doing 0.8 instead of alternating. And, emotionally, I've had so much of a realization of everything that's happened since then. A lot of my actions were definitely affected by the fact that I was hardcore clinging on to the emotional support of what Kim was for me. I was still struggling with getting over her in general, and I think everything total hit me at once, and it just wasn't a very fortunate group, I guess, of emotions to have at the same time. Basically, though, that's what I wanted to talk about, was some of the hell I went through due to incorrect dosing, and how it could have probably been avoided, and I could have probably saved a relationship. Although it was having other issues, it was not entirely due to my emotional issues I was having. There were other issues that I'm not going to get into, because I don't want him to become a bad person in your guys' eyes. And I still love it. I love her to death. I respect her as a person. She did the right thing by leaving. In that aspect of, if I really was becoming emotionally abusive, that she got out. And I wish nothing but the best for her. Like I said, I really wanted to share that with you guys, so you guys can basically get an understanding of why it's so important. So please don't ever mess with your dose unless you have gotten permission from your doctor. I have a couple other videos that I have been wanting to make, and I'm going to get on those now. not necessarily today, but I just happened to get the day off from work due to weather, which was bullshit because the day ended up looking fine. But I have other videos I'm gonna make, so keep an eye out for those. I'll probably make those within the next week and a half, or maybe like right after I get back to Radford for the new semester, because I have like a week between the time I get there and the time like freshman move-in is and everything and whatnot. So, yep, I will see you guys then though. Bye.